Our producer and investigator extraordinaire, Leslie, joins us with more on her investigative findings.
So what other interesting findings did you find for parents?
The toys we tested at the lab actually came clean. They did not contain lead at all. However, we expected that because of the sweeping government regulations in 2008 that banned lead in child's toys. But we tested a fidget spinner there, and these are considered general use products, so they don't have the same regulations as children's toys. However, we all know children are playing with these fidget spinners. The piece that came off of these fidget spinners right here had 250 times the amount of lead that's allowed in children's toys. And we know that this small piece can be lethal. And we've seen cases of that where kids can swallow it. It comes off super easy.
That's the first thing that came to my mind was the size of that. Not only the lead you're talking about, but the size. That is a setup to totally obstruct a child's airway.
And I have to give credit to CPSC because they're doing an excellent job of getting these toxic toys off the shelves before they even get on the market, right? But parents also need to realize that they can't police all of them because it's a $26 billion toy industry, and there's hundreds of children's products that are recalled every year, and studies show parents only hear about 2 or 3 of them. And so I think a great resource is this website called saferproducts.gov that lists all of the recalls. You can type in exactly what toy to make sure it's not recalled. But interestingly, I typed in specific toys, found recalled ones, and then I went online to see if I could purchase those toys, and I could. And I think that's extremely scary for parents.
I am reassured to know that there are people out there testing everything from bike helmets to testing these products for lead levels. That was a good sign.
If these regulations on lead and say phthalates went in place in 2008, then should parents really be worried about like hand-me-down or vintage toys?
Absolutely, because like you said, before 2008, those products could be tainted with lead. And so I think what you do with vintage toys is you keep them in a nice display case and not let your children play with them because it's a risk. I do want to make an interesting point. The helmet we tested passed. It was a cheap helmet. But the reason the people at the lab told us it passed because it had such thick styrofoam here. And they also told us that helmets are only supposed to take 1 impact.
Interesting.
So if your kid falls, you should not use that same helmet again. You got to get a new one.
I noticed the sticker in there saying that it is certified, right? So that's what you want to look for as a parent. I think when it comes to things that aren't toys, that are protective, like helmets, that's the last time you want to use anything that's a knockoff or a hand-me-down where you don't know where it's come from, whether or not it's taken previous falls.
I want to make this point because 80% of parents, studies have been done, they believe that an age grading on a product is just a suggestion, when actually it's not. It's a safety sign. Like your child, if they are 2, they should not be playing with a toy that says 3 and above.
I'm very guilty of this. Your younger child will play with the older siblings, toys, and you'll think, oh, that's great. They're kind of going ahead of their age group. Yeah, but it's actually really dangerous.
That's what they want to do. They see their older sibling, the first thing they want to do, I want one of those chickens that lays the egg. That was cool.
So I think you talked about lead. I understand there's also a growing concern about a chemical called phthalates.
Yes, there's actually a number of them banned right now. The government has a ban in place for them. And the interesting thing is these phthalates, the ecology group did a study and found that even though they might not be showing up in a lot of kids' toys because the regulations are so great, they're showing up in other types of products that children play with. So some of these companies are skirting these regulations by saying it's a general use product or saying it's not intended for children. And phthalates, it's what makes the plastic malleable. So that's something to watch out for.
And Leslie, the most dangerous toy out there?
Most dangerous toy? Riding toys, scooters, non-motorized scooters, and that's why it goes back to my helmet point.
Getting back to head injuries.
And all the devices that scoot nowadays that don't have brakes. Have you noticed the growing trend where kids are riding on these things going down hills? I'm like, how do you stop? Oh, I use my foot. Okay.
Yeah, but 45% of toy-related deaths in 2015 were all from these scooters, right? From different
high rates of speed, children, not a good combination.